Congressman Barney Frank from the 4th District of Massachusetts. Thank you for your time tonight, Congressman.
Welcome.
You survived the Bush-era Republican Congress. What do you make of the look of the one that took power today?
Well, it's going to be worse. The extreme right wing, I guess you got to quote Ronald Reagan, the right hand doesn't know what the far right hand is doing. Mainstream conservatives were knocked off in the primary by people very much on the right who's frankly have made unrealistic promises. That's why you see them breaking their promises. And what's going to happen, I think, is going to be a great deal of chaos. When I was in the minority, and Michael Oxley was chairman of the committee I'm now going to be ranking member on, we were able to work together. He was very distressed by a group of extreme conservatives who we consider to be very disruptive. They're now running the place. For an example, one of the first things they're going to do in the area where I'm involved is to try to reduce funding that's needed for the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodities Futures Trading Commission so they can regulate derivatives. These people are very angry at the fact that we said we're going to try to regulate these derivatives, credit default swaps, etc. And they are literally trying to disarm the two agencies that are supposed to be doing it. As I've said, they yearn for the thrilling days of yesteryear when the Lone Rangers can ride again.
Sort of tangentially to that, there's been a lot of informed speculation already that the Republicans are going to use the debt ceiling vote and or threatening to shut the government down, whether they say it's that way or not, just the same thing either way, in order to try to extract major concessions from Democrats on spending, maybe touch Social Security. Is that what you're feeling? And how would this latest edition of governance by blackmail?
That is appalling thuggery. And by the way, we have two wars going on. I wish we didn't. I voted against the war in Iraq, the greatest waste of money in our history. The war in Afghanistan, I originally was for. I think we have long since passed that point. Are they going to shut down the debt limit? They're going to shut down the government? Well, we've got young men and women in combat positions. These are the people often talking about how patriotic they are. Have they no brains whatsoever to understand what that means when you've got troops out in the field? And I want to be very clear. I see them saying, well, if the president is really nice to us, we'll agree to raise the debt limit. It's no favor to me. I voted against going to the war in Iraq. I didn't vote to incur these trillions of dollars of debts in many cases that came from their policies. And again, the notion that these patriotic, let's support our troops, people would even threaten to shut down financing with the government when you've got troops in the field is just bizarre.
On the subject of health care reform, obviously there is a new debate that should be had about health care reform since the American public is becoming aware of some of the early benefits. But in this House, under this Speaker, is that debate going to be permitted to happen?
No, this is just fantastic. On the one hand, Boehner says we're going to have open debate. Cantor says there are going to be amendments. And I said, oh, and by the way, the bill is coming up next week with no amendments. And we adopted their rules today with no amendments. I mean, again, you just become dumbfounded. Their view is we will say X, and then we will do the opposite of X. And so what? This is kind of a Marxist approach when they talk about how open they're going to be. And the Marx I'm talking about is Chico. When he said in one thing, who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes? I'm going to believe my own eyes. These people are just lying. I mean, they say, yeah, it's going to be open. And then the most important bill, healthcare, is going to come up with no amendments. The rules, no amendments. We try to offer an amendment, they move to table it, which shuts off debate. So it is just extraordinary, the extent to which they think they can just say one thing and do the exact opposite. And then, of course, the final thing is, and this is the biggest hypocrisy, these are people who talk about cutting spending, and they're critical of the president for not spending enough on the military. And under them, military spending will go up and up and up, and it will blot out our ability to do anything else about the quality of life in America.
Congressman Barney Frank of Massachusetts, it must be hell in there. Good luck in the next 2 years.
Well, I'm not working as hard. I'm frustrated that we're not doing better. But there's a certain interest in watching these gyrations, which are just as I said, bizarre.
And Chico Marxist. Thank you again, sir.